Hi, I'm James Carr, and I was paired with CJ Angrisani. We were paired because we were both interested in sports and modeling, particularly the NBA. So we took possibly a different approach than most other teams, which was we ran with two ideas and decided which one was better at the end. Um, Turns out CJ's was better. But briefly, I wanted to go over what I was trying to do as well. So my goal was to scrape play-by-play data from NBA.com and use the extra fields that you could get from that to predict outcomes of games. Um, I thought the most difficult part would just be getting the data, but I was wrong. Once I had the data, um, it became a very complex model. I had a lot of fields and many different lineups, and it ended up just being very difficult to fit. So the simpler model won in this case for sure. Um, so on to CJ's project. The goal here was, since we don't have the NBA going right now, it would be a fun exercise to try to predict the outcome of the season if it were to finish and to determine who would most likely win the championship. So to accomplish that, the data came from basketballreference.com. It was every game that was actually played this season. The offensive team score and the home team score and the away team score. There were 971 total games, and then we used those scores to assign an offensive and a defensive rating. So those offensive and defensive ratings essentially powered the models. The models were two Poisson likelihoods, and basically you had two teams in a round, and each team had their offensive and defensive ratings plugged into the Poisson model, and the team that scored the most points would win that game. The first You would do it over and over again. The first to four would win, best 4 out of 7, and then on to the next round. So that was done all the way until the NBA championship. So the results from that were, and possibly not surprising for anybody who watches the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks crushed. They were overall about 4 times more likely to win the championship than the next closest. The next closest was the Lakers, but it wasn't even really close. So just a couple charts from the output there. On the left is a scatter plot of those offensive and defensive ratings, which were essentially the data that powered the models. I don't want to obviously go through all of them, but a couple of the most interesting ones. Number 15 on the top right, that's kind of as expected. That's the Milwaukee Bucks. They have a great offensive rating and really one of the strongest defensive ratings too. And they're just a powerhouse of a team. Just to the left of them is the second place team, the Lakers. They also have a very strong defensive rating. Their offensive rating is not quite as good. And then, for me, near and dear to my heart, and possibly you guys as well, since it's a North Carolina-based school, the Charlotte Hornets, number 28 over there on the left, representing nicely with easily the worst offensive rating in the whole bunch. Also not surprising, I guess. So over on the right is the results from the simulations. The Bucks, as we said before, crushed the competition. They had thousands of wins in the simulation versus the next closest, which was the Lakers. For me, the thing I found the most interesting out of the results was how poorly the Rockets showed up in our simulation. They were a powerhouse of a team this year too, and one of the best teams in the NBA. And then one of my favorites, the Toronto Raptors over there on the right, just hanging around, kind of like they did last year when they won the championship. So who knows? Maybe they could give it a run again this year if it was actually being played. Anyway, that's it. That's the results of our project. I hope it was entertaining and a bit of sports for you guys if you like those, since we have no sports to watch currently right now. Thanks.